Welcome back to another episode of the Unraveled and Rising podcast. I am host Michelle with my wonderful two co-hosts.
Good morning, everybody. Great to be here.
Good morning, everyone. Terry D'Aragon. Nice to see you all.
Yes, we're excited to be here. And this is the day. We have been talking about this day for, I think, the last 4 episodes, which is all 4 episodes we've done thus far, about the Dr. Ed. We keep referring to him, his name, and all those things. And now we have this wonderful episode where you guys actually get to see his face. The face goes with all those things we've been talking about. And we're going to have a session today that talks about our experience, and he's going to share some insight and tips and his heart with all of you on how to maybe make some changes in your life. So thank you, Dr. Ed, for coming on with us today.
Oh, boy, my pleasure. I'm grateful to be here. I'm happy to see you all. Thank you.
Yes. It's so exciting because all 3 of us have had Dr. Ed as a coach in our lives, a mindset coach, and he has made a big impact on all of us. And we're going to share a little bit about, and it's not just about, Dr. Ed, you'll have to just sit and listen to all these good things about yourself. Sometimes that's hard to do, but, you know what I mean? But we want to share because we do have an immense gratitude. I mean, none of us feel like we would be in the place that we are today without your assistance. So we just have so much love and respect for what you've done for us. And then we just want to share that with you. So does anybody want to start? Does anybody, Tim, Terry, Kimberly want to start?
I can.
You guys are like, nope, don't want to start. Go for it, Terry. You know you got all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah. So I am just so grateful to have you on this episode with us. I've known Dr. Ed for, oh my gosh, probably, I want to say close to 9 years. Dr. Ed, can you believe, though, that it's almost been 7 years that we've been working together? It's coming up on 7 years, 2019. And he has actually helped me transform my life. He's so good at reminding me that it was me that has done the work, but had I not had that guidance, and just having someone be able to see things that I couldn't see within myself, not only the things that were not always great to look at, but also being able to see the things in me that I could become. And he could see things in me that I couldn't see within myself. And that was huge. I held on tight to that with Dr. Ed. So yes. I'm so glad that you're here. And it's so cool to have all 3 of us here because he's seen so much of our growth within all of us.
Well, and hopefully none of us starts crying and makes him uncomfortable.
Well,
he knows that crying is our heart, so he gets it.
I do get it, and I appreciate the kind words, and I've grown to the point that I can accept those things. But I want to remind each of you that you did the work.
Yes.
Right? You did the work. I asked you to do the work. You did the work, and you got the benefit of doing the work. Right? And that's the blessing. That's the blessing in what I do is I get to inspire you to do the work, and I get to watch you grow.
Yes.
And I'm grateful to you each of you for doing the work.
Dr. Ed, when you say do the work, what does that mean to people? So those that don't understand what doing the work means, what does it mean?
Well, we're going to talk about that today, but personal growth is personal, right? What my line of work is helping individuals grow to become to live the life they want to live, to reach that next level, because I believe everybody has a next level. Some of you, each of you have been with me for different periods of time in your life, and maybe left and came back even. But Terry has just kept going. She's reached levels, and then she just keeps going to the next level. And that's the invitation that not only for you, but I push myself that way.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Personal growth is personal, and you have to do the work for yourself, but you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do it by yourself. That's the value of a coach if you're willing to engage with a coach. And if you remember, you may have different recollections of our conversations in the beginning. I know I said to you, if you'll do the work, you can have anything you want. If you do what I tell you to do, you'll get the result you want. And the challenge is getting yourself to do what I ask you to do.
Right.
And it's because we go kicking and screaming because we're emotional beings and we're stuck in patterns of behavior. And I just help you break the patterns. And
So good.
that's the work.
That's the work. I love that. And we've all had aha moments, I know. Does anybody want to share their aha moment with Dr. Ed?
Well, I'll share,
Yeah.
just briefly, which it sounds
Okay.
simple now, but just that I didn't have to believe the thoughts that were going on in my head, and that I could, and that truly wasn't me, and that I was more than that. I mean, it seems so trivial, but I mean, it's been huge. When I hear that going on, sometimes I'm just able to shut it down, which is something I couldn't do for years. And I remember also telling Dr. Ed that for years, I always had this pit like in my stomach. My stomach just always felt like a knot. And I just got so used to it. And one day, during our coaching, I just kind of like, wow, it's not there. And I remember him asking, well, do you miss it? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe I do. But I was just so used to having that, just feeling that yucky feeling, that when it was gone, it was like, holy cow.
Yeah. Don't believe everything you think, right?
Yeah.
It's most of what we think is not true, or it's interpretation from something that's happened in the past, that our perception of what it was is not really what it was. And then because of the pain of the past, we carry that forward and we keep thinking it, and then we shift it or we expand upon it, we make it bigger, because what we focus on grows. Right? I just want you to focus on gratitude. I want you to focus on your compelling future.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what a coach, you understand the difference. So you understand the difference between a coach and a therapist. As a coach, I want to help you live in the present moment. And
Yes.
through the vision of your compelling future. Right? If you want to understand the past, if you want to explore the past, and sometimes there's benefit. Oftentimes there's benefit to it. It's just whether you want to go there. A therapist can help you do that. And I know there's therapists that are taking you from the past to the future. I just, as a coach, I'm not real I listen and I have empathy, but I'm not going to put a lot of attention on the past, because I'm asking you to release the past and live in the present moment, focused on where you want to go. And that is possible for every person on the planet. And that's my purpose, is to help people do that, because your next level is found on your willingness to go there, to live now, to reject the past, just let it go. You can't do it. You cannot do anything about it. What you can do something about is right now,
Yeah.
great tomorrow. And I just equip people like yourselves with tools, resources, awareness, accountability. Right? I've held each of you accountable. I've challenged you at times when you weren't giving me your best.
Yeah.
And
Yes, you
that's
did.
the role of the coach. What was that?
I said, yes, you did. And you were also really good at reminding me, because I'll be the first to admit I have a therapist too. But, you would listen, but then you'd be like, this is really more for the therapist, and helping me with those lines, because just the relationship that I was able to develop with you, and the trust and the love and admiration, it just, that line could get blurred, but you were really good about, I hear you, but this is really more for your therapist. And you're absolutely right. So I want to thank you for that.
Yeah. And for me, that is what, for all of our listeners out there, pairing those two was really profound for me as well. Working with someone in therapy that also had the beliefs in what I believed, and it wasn't just talk therapy and just reliving the past, but it was moving forward. And I remember coming to Dr. Ed, because I was working with both as well. And he just beautifully led me into doing what I felt led to do. And when I was beginning to feel and look into EMDR, and we've talked about EMDR on here, and we'll talk about that more in future episodes. But we spoke about that, and he felt like, you know what, I think that would be really beneficial for you, and he supported that decision with me, and walked me through that. And but had I not done a lot of the work that I had with Dr. Ed, and then speaking with the therapist that had done my EMDR, I wouldn't been prepared mentally or emotionally. So his work really helped prepare me, and that really has stuck with me, is that everything is happening for you, and that it's preparing you for what you'll do next. And so anytime I'm faced with something that's challenging in my life, I say that repeatedly in my mind, that everything is happening for you. Everything is happening for you. And it's how I handle that situation, the way that I'm looking at it. And sometimes I have to stop in a moment and say, okay, how am I looking at this right now? You know, and so just the tools that he's taught me, to just the way I'm looking at it and my perspective of it, has been so profound for me. So that's definitely one of them. And then the other one that was huge was that what people say about you or think about you is none of your business, which was like freedom. And then and that happiness was my job, that nobody could make me unhappy. That was my job. And so I could control my happiness.
I don't know if you had anything to follow up with that, Dr. Ed, or I was going to share mine, but I didn't know if you had any comments on that.
Well, you know, when you start to understand yourself, personal growth, you understand why other people's stuff is their stuff. They have patterns and programming and experiences that we call the paradigm, right, that cause them to do what they do. And personal growth is about breaking the patterns for yourself, so you are living a life of alignment and doing the things you already know how to do, and go creating the life that you want to live, right? But when you understand yourself, then it's easier to understand why people do what they do, and you just let that be their stuff. And then this idea that everything's happening for you. See, life is a perception. If you perceive that it's happening to you, you are a victim.
Yeah.
And when you show up as a victim, it's a very sad place to be. It's a very negative emotional place to be. You have no power. You can't do anything about it, right? Except be the victim. I want to empower the people to take responsibility. And things are going to happen. Life is messy. Nobody can escape that.
No.
You still can create. You can still move forward. You can navigate around the obstacle, right? You can get where you want to go regardless of what's happening or what's a circumstance or a situation that's come up that most often you can't control it anyway. So why would you even try? But the average person gets stuck, gets bound up in the circumstance and trying to figure out what happened, why did it happen, as a protection mechanism. And I'm just suggesting control what you can control and keep moving forward. Right?
That's so good.
It takes awareness. Awareness is what my coaching is about. And many coaches out there, they may not be able to verbalize it that way. It's just helping you be aware of things, aware of the thoughts that aren't yours, right? That your mom or your dad planted in your head when you were 6 years old that impacted you because you were impressionable. Your consciousness hadn't developed yet.
Right.
And it rolls forward, but they had paradigms, they had limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's about money. Or perhaps they were going through something.
Yep.
And we carry it forward, and it's really not, it doesn't have to be a part of us. We can let that stuff go and create from where we're at, no matter where you're at, no matter what you've been through.
Yeah.
So true. I think mine is very similar to Terry's as well. But for me, I feel like number one, it was good for me to have a coach who was a male, because my relationship with men has not been fabulous in my life, including my own father and boyfriends and husbands and all that jazz. So I feel like for me, and he angered me at times because I don't like men telling me what to do, which is, and so when I had Dr. Ed as a coach, sometimes he would say things he could tell too that when I was irritated. And I went through this struggle of trying to create a trust and a relationship with Dr. Ed as my coach that I think was very healthy for me to go through. And then the real profound moment just happened this year, you guys. I've been working with Dr. Ed since it was 2020 or 2021. I can't remember. But it's been 4 years, something like that. And he was helping with some social anxiety I have around small talk because I'm a bit of an introvert. And when I go to social events, I tend to struggle with trying to create just small talk with people. And he just talked to me about the fact that I don't need to worry about what anybody else is doing. I don't have to be like everybody else. I can just be like me. And there's something that hit me just in that one moment. And he's probably told me that before, but I don't know, for some reason I was ready to hear it and ready to receive it or something. I don't know the difference, but I literally, when he said that to me earlier this year, I think it was like in February or something like that, it has made such a profound impact on me. And I literally let it go. And it's like, I do not care in those moments anymore. I walk into places now and sit down and I just do my thing. And I'm not worried if they're going, oh, she's sitting by herself. Not at all. It's like completely changed my whole perspective. And it just is such a freeing feeling. And that's what you did.
Yeah, the freedom to be yourself, the freedom to be the most authentic version of yourself. That's personal. The impetus behind that is personal growth, is understanding you, and it happens through the vision of your big goal. Because to get yourself to work on yourself for 4, 5 years, 9 years, 7 years, in my case, consciously working on myself for upwards of 15 years. I'm working on me. You got to have a big vision, right?
Yeah.
And I know your vision. It's huge. It's impactful. It's meaningful for your legacy. Kimberly, it's the same way, right?
Yeah.
Terry, it's the same thing. That's where we start. The starting point is establishing where do you want to go and why do you want to go there, and is it big enough to get you to grow, right?
Yes.
And it's a process, and it happens at different stages and different patterns for everyone. My growth process now is a lot different than it was in 2006, 2005, when I really decided I need to start working on myself and stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. Right? Work on.
I would love it if you share that story, Dr. Ed. Could you share your story of what started you on your personal growth
Absolutely.
journey?
I'm trained as a chiropractor, right? I have a passion for helping people. But if I go back, your story starts when you're born, right? And I don't have a lot of memories of my early life other than I was blessed and I was loved. I never lacked for anything. I didn't feel like it was ever had anything real traumatic happening to me. But the thing that I remember, the thing that impacted me the most was when I was 18 years old, and my parents got a divorce, and everything started to fall apart at that point. Because, and it wasn't even so much me, but when that happens, you get put in the middle of things that you shouldn't be put in the middle of. Right. And I'm 18 years old. I have a little bit of wisdom. I'm a little older than my sister, but my sister was 14, 13, and it was really hard on her. And my mom didn't handle it well. And I made that decision right then. I'm 18 years old. I'm not getting married in the very near future, but at that point I made a decision. I'm not getting divorced. I'm not putting anybody through that, whether they're 5 years old or 20 years old or 25 years old. I'm not putting anyone through it. And I made a decision at that point that it wasn't going to happen. Right? So fast forward, that trauma of the divorce impacted my family. But I went to chiropractic school, and this is when I started to have this experience. Life isn't always going to be what you think it's going to be, right? Life doesn't always turn out the way you think it's going to turn out. I graduated and went into partnership type practice, not knowing anything about business. I'm an introvert, and I'm a very caring and sensitive person. I'm all about helping people. But it wasn't enough in that environment, because I needed to have some business savvy that I didn't have. And the relationship I had with my partner fell apart. I made mistakes, he made mistakes, and we didn't communicate. And I talk about relationships. The power of the relationship is in the communication. We stopped
Yeah.
communicating, so the relationship fell apart. And I had 3 kids. I had student loan debt. I had a lot of pressure on me. I'd provide for my family. So I had no choice. I didn't have I didn't have anywhere else to go, so I stopped practicing. And I went and got a job, helping family friend, and ended up doing something completely different from what I really wanted to do. Right? And I was able to create a life, raised a family. We had great experiences. We have great memories of my young kids as their life, all the way up to the point that they became young adults. But through that 20 years or 23, it was 20 to 23 years, I lose track of exactly how far it was. I lost myself because I was not doing what I loved. I was really good at it because I'm adaptable and I figure stuff out. But I was running a construction company and didn't love what I was doing every day. And it showed up in my relationship. And my wife and I grew apart. She was frustrated. I was not talking. I wasn't communicating. And I came home. I still remember the day I came home and she was there with a friend of hers and she said, I'm moving out. We're going to take a break. She didn't tell me she was divorcing me. She hadn't done that, but she was leaving the family. I still had 3 kids at home. She just couldn't take it anymore. Now you might say, well, it's not a very good way to handle it. And yeah, it was shocking to me, but she did what she did for herself. Right. So I knew, I popped back into my head that said, I'm not getting divorced. I'm going to hang on to this. I'm going to figure it out. So I told my kids what was happening. She never told them. She didn't tell them. She just moved out and went because she was in her own place. And it was a difficult conversation, but I made a decision at that point. I need to start working on me. I was going to figure it out, and I had no idea how. I just knew I was. And at that point, I'd been involved with Tony Robbins for our business, but I never really dove into it on the relationship side and worked on me for that. And I just went to work on me and said, well, what do I need to change? How am I showing up in this relationship? And I'm not going to go into the details of that. I'm just saying I went to work on me. And hindsight is 2020. Now I tell my clients, each of you have heard me say this. When you work to change yourself, you create space for other people to change. Right? I worked on myself energetically, how I communicated, and it created space for my wife to change. And she was going through her own stuff. And it took almost 7 years of hanging on to the relationship. We'd date for a period of time and then we'd fall back. But I kept believing because remember, I made that decision in my mind. I wasn't getting divorced. And she never asked me for it. Okay? So fast forward, I figured out a way to extract myself from the business because I was deeply invested in this business. Construction company, we hired kids that were 17, 18 years old. They were with me for 20 years. Now they got young families. And I want to leave, but I'm loyal to them. And I figured, well, what's going to happen if I leave? It was hard. Even though I knew I wanted to get back to doing something around either starting my practice back up, or now I started to see, well, I could get into this coaching thing. Right? I could get into helping businesses or helping people. So I started doing these things parallel to each other, and trying to figure out how I was going to extract myself from the business and start a coaching practice. And became mentored by Bob Proctor from the movie The Secret. Some people know him, some people have never heard of him. If you see him, you'll recognize him from the movie The Secret. I was blessed that I was able to get close enough to him that have to be coached by him. And he challenged me one weekend. It was in August of 2015. He said, when are you going to leave this? When are you going to leave this business and start and commit and go forward? And well, now would be a good time, don't you think? So I gave myself 30 days in front of a crowd of about 400 people. He had me stand up in this chair and make my commitment. And I was scared to death because I don't break agreements. But this was the first time anybody'd ever maybe put a date on it. And about 44 days later, I had given notice to my partner, the partner that it evolved to, and extracted myself from the business, went into private coaching practice, and here I am. So the point of that story is I didn't finish the story. So I start my coaching practice, and my wife and I are still not together. And I realize I may have had some holes in my timeline here, but I just kept working on the relationship, on myself in the relationship, and all of a sudden, she started to come back to me. We started to see each other more often. We started to communicate like we were when we were 25, right? You started to repair and restore the relationship. And I never asked her to move back in with me. She just said, hey, I think you should, your lease is coming up. I think you should let it go. Because we'd sold everything that we owned together. We'd let everything go. We had to, right? But probably not a detail that is really, really pertinent, but why don't you, your lease is up, why don't you move back in with me? And that was a turning point. And we've been married 43 years. I don't count the 7 years in the between. We were still married, right? But It was just what it was. So that point takes me to the coaching principles that anything is possible. Absolutely anything is possible, no matter how bleak it is, no matter how much emotional turmoil there is, whatever. If you have a vision for starting a nonprofit, if you have a vision for starting a coaching practice, you have a vision for starting a business consulting business, if you have a desire to travel the world, it's all possible. But you got to learn to be in control of your thinking. Right? And before my past, I went through 15 or 20 years when my thoughts were thinking me, and I was just surviving the day, and that wasn't who my wife wanted to be around, and I wasn't pleasant to be around. I was a pain in the neck, right? But I learned to be in control of my thinking. I learned to reject the thoughts that didn't support the life I wanted to live. See, your conscious mind, that you can reject any thought that you have, and you can accept any thought that you have. What works is to accept the thoughts that are aligned with the vision you have for your future, right? And if it's creating a coaching program, as for Terry, or creating a nonprofit, which is where it started, she just has to learn to think on that frequency. Right? Now, I don't want to get too deep into this because it can be a little bit overwhelming, but
yeah,
anything's possible. Learn to be in control of your thinking, have a personal growth plan, a personal development plan, and learn to perceive yourself differently. So I had to perceive myself as the person I decided to become, right? Which was a coach. I had to let go of that business owner side of me, right? So no matter where you're at, that's the place to start. Just if you're struggling in your life, you got to start thinking about possibility, thinking about what do you want in your life, what do you want to be, and learn to live in the present moment and align your thinking with where you want to go. Now, it's easier to do when you have an attitude of gratitude, when you direct your mind to being thankful for the things in your life
that you do have. Yeah.
And learn to be thankful for the things that have happened in your life that have caused you to grow.
That's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
It's illogical. When Terry said it, Terry said everything's happening for you, not to you. I know what was happening in the minds of many of the people who were listening to this. They go, what the heck does she mean?
Yeah.
Happening for me.
Well, and
stole my car. How can that be for me?
Yeah.
well, and you say that, Dr. Ed. And when I started working with you, when I came to you, I was struggling with severe depression and anxiety, and I was living a life of unfulfillment, and I was struggling big time, and I didn't know how to get myself out of it. And when I ended up going through a separation ending in a divorce, and I could not see how this was happening for me. It was so painful. It was causing so much pain to my family, to me. The feelings of rejection that I felt. And I just remember there was this moment that I had, and I remember talking to you. I texted you, and I said, I got to talk to you right now. And he said, well, can you meet me on Zoom? And I said, well, I was working with Kimberly, so I was in our rental car with the home hospice company I was working for. And I said, well, I'll be in my car. And I pulled over into a gas station, and I just got on I don't even know if you remember this. And I got on there, and I just didn't even know what to say. And he just looked at me and he said, do you feel like you blew up your life? And I said, yes, I do. I do feel like I blew up my life. I felt like I had done something as I started to grow, that everything was chaos. And how did this happen? And how could I just go back? There was this moment that I just wanted to go back. And even though it was bad, it was comfortable. I knew what that felt like. And so what would you tell our viewers out there that when they start this personal development journey, and that feeling comes up that, oh my gosh, I blew up my life and I just want to go back to the way that it was?
Well, I will tell you, you don't have to blow up your life to get where you want to go. Okay?
It felt like it.
But yeah, the familiar past, even the familiar present moment of being in a relationship that doesn't serve you, that is not what you want, or being 50 pounds overweight and wanting to be in better health, or not wanting to be financially independent, requires you to change. And the last thing your body wants to do is change, right? It doesn't. Your body doesn't want change. Your subconscious mind, your essence, does not want to change. Mm-hmm. So we use words like "blow up my life," but if the life you're living doesn't serve you, why would you hang on to it?
I know. And people were falling away from my life at that moment. And I felt like I didn't understand that the people that were falling away were the ones that really needed to fall away.
When you change, you create space for other people to change. Yes. Those people that aren't in alignment with you are going to go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
It is.
Because what you want in your life is people that are on your team, that are your tribe, or that you can grow together with, that you can live the life you love together.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's okay. But it's uncomfortable.
Oh my gosh, was it?
And average people won't do it. They won't.
It's hard.
And they give up before they break through.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you feel like you've given up, you just have to. Hopefully, you have somebody there to catch you that can remind you of what you committed to and where you want to go. Which is, I do that when it needs to be done.
You did that a lot.
I'm not speaking to anyone in particular, but I'll ask the question: do you remember when you told me that this is what you wanted?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is that still true?
Yeah.
And it is. It is still true.
Yeah.
And you can have it, but you won't get it by looking backwards. You won't get it by blaming other people for what they do and accusing other people. judging other people, you will not get there doing that.
Right.
That's a recipe for misery. But I
Yes.
remind you, you were talking about anxiety, right?
Mhm.
When I teach, since I've taught you each about where anxiety comes from, now you know to change your thinking,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Worry and doubt leads to fear, which leads to anxiety. I promise you, if you allow the thought if you allow yourself to worry about something, you can make it big enough that it will scare the bejesus out of you,
Yes.
and you will have anxiety. That's a natural response. Many people, if you don't know that's where it comes from, then you're taking something to get rid of the anxiety, never addressing the problem.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You're thinking.
Which for me, it was getting worse. It was just this continuum that just kept going on to more and more things, and progressively getting worse and requiring more medication, and it wasn't helping me. And when I realized that I was causing so much of my own pain, because I didn't understand so many of the things that you've taught me over the last almost 7 years, Dr. Ed. So one more thing for
Yes.
me, and then I'm going to let one of my other special friends talk. But
Go for
as
it.
our listeners are on here listening to you, what would you tell them if they are? I wrote this down, so I got it right. What would you tell our listeners when they are in their in between? Because I know there was this moment where, and I'm still evolving, I'm still growing, so they're still in between. I feel like they're still in between for all of us because we're all just growing to the next level. But when you're really making that initial transformation for me, in the beginning, when I first started working with you, how can you explain to someone when they feel like, I don't think this can ever happen for me, or what do they do in that in between? Because when it's so easy to just go back to the past and hang on to those feelings that we've always done.
Well, emotional patterns are habits, right? Thoughts are habits. The habitual thought leads to the habitual emotion, which causes you to believe something about the future. Okay, and you got to go back to the basics, to the fundamentals, to say I'm feeling this way because I'm not thinking. Right? Now, people when they're stuck, that's when they come. That's when people get referred to me. Right? They're stuck, but they don't know what to do next. It's go back and say, well, what do I really want? Because and learn how to see. I teach people how to think, and you might say, well, why do I need somebody to teach me how to think? I do it
You do.
naturally. I
You're
learned to
not.
think when I thought I learned to think when I was in school. I thought they taught me how to think.
No.
No, we don't. Most people would rather die than truly think. Right? Thinking is a very simple process. Sometimes it's not easy, but thinking is, how do I want this to be?
Yeah.
How do I want my life to be? Or if you have a problem, what's the solution to this? If I knew what the solution was, what would that be? And when I have the solution, what does that mean to my life? Thinking is forming images. We think in pictures. So you got to give yourself, if you're not thinking, you're forming images of what you don't want, and they're ugly and they're scary. Or if you're looking at your circumstance and your circumstance is thinking for you, then that circumstance just gets bigger. And look, I make no guarantees of circumstances changing. Right?
Yeah.
You each have some things in your life that haven't changed
Yes.
yet.
Yes.
You haven't grown past them, or there hasn't been enough time, or maybe they just weren't meant to be. Maybe that's just the way it's going to be, and it's happening for you.
Yeah.
It's okay. Everything's going to
Yes.
work out. That's the truth. But it starts with, how do I want this to be? And be willing to go there. Be willing to put the effort in. Be willing to write it down. When I tell you to write it down, write it down. What will it feel
I get
like?
that, Dr. Ed, because I used to get so irritated when you would ask me a question like, what's the best version of you? And I'd be like, I'd say something like really mediocre, and he'd be like, I need more detail. Go to your heart. And I would just be like, I don't know. How many times did you guys say I don't know when Dr. Ed asked you a question when you're kind of going through this process? And it's like, it's just the challenge of thinking about that. I never thought about, the vision of my business and where I wanted to go, and all those different things. You don't think about, sometimes most of us don't think about that kind of stuff. You don't think about the best version of yourself and what does it actually look like when you look at it and you think about that, and you have the vision in your head of you in that place. What does it look like? I don't think I've ever thought of that. So to try to communicate that, it's so hard sometimes when you're not used to that way of thinking. And I used to get so frustrated when Dr. Ed would say that. I'd be like, I don't know, Dr. Ed, what the best version of me is. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
I
It's like,
remember he asked me that when I was going through my separation. He kept saying,
Yeah.
how do you want your relationship to be? And I thought, well, I don't know. I've never seen a healthy relationship. So how do you define something that you don't know what it looks like? So that was really challenging for me too. And that was a great challenge for me to get around people that actually had healthy relationships so that I could actually see what that did look like, because I didn't know.
We may not have developed our imagination muscle, our perception muscle, our creative muscles that God gifted us with to create our lives. So we use our imagination in reverse to make up stories about what might happen based on our past.
Yes.
And that way the past becomes the future. We've got to use our imagination to focus forward. It's a muscle. You got to exercise it. That's what the work is. Imagination, memory, reason, intuition, perception. Right? Those are your creative mental muscles that you can create your life with. Your average people use their eyes to think about what's possible. What they see with their eyes is what's possible. What they hear with their ears is what's possible. That's the senses. The senses are not designed they're not creative faculties. They're just there to help us exist, to keep us safe, you've heard me say this, to keep us from stepping off a sidewalk in front of a bus. That's really what it is, or to allow us to enjoy the beauty of a sunset, or allow us to feel the love when we hug somebody, right? Those are all
Yes.
senses, but we don't really create with those. We create with other faculties that make us human. Imagination, memory, will, reason, intuition, and perception. You got to exercise those muscles. That's what thinking is. And that's coaching, is getting you to use those muscles and get you out of the muck, out of the circumstance.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a circumstance, but you're bigger than that. And that's coaching. That's possibility. Everything is possible. But you've got to change your thinking. I had to change my thinking. I had to change my beliefs to repair the relationship with my wife. But I had a vision. I had something I was committed to.
Yeah.
I was divorced. What I envisioned was exactly what I have right now. Is we're raising our grandkids, living our best life together as a family. We have family dinners every Sunday, or most Sundays, but 90% of them we have somebody over for dinner, and I'm enjoying my family. That's what I wanted. It might be simple, but it's my desire. It's what I wanted. It's what I had to go through to grow and create. So whatever you want, you can have it. You just got to become it. It's growth. It's personal growth. I have the tools that will help you do it, but you're going to have to do the work. Right?
Love that.
It's yours.
Kimberly, do you want to ask him anything?
Well, I was just going to add that for me, one of the things that you taught me that I use often is, what is the lesson I'm learning from this? Because when things feel heavy, and holy cow, have they been heavy sometimes? And I know there's sometimes, all right, I'm done with the lessons already. Like, I'm done learning lessons, but really looking at it, okay, what is this trying to teach me? What do I need to learn from this to change, to make, the outcome different? But I use that a lot, where in the past I would have been the victim, and cried about it or pouted about it or whatever, but just like you said, that awareness, and then, okay, what's the lesson I'm supposed to learn from this? This is happening for me. What do I need to learn from this, and how can I grow from this?
Or sometimes it's just, if this were happening for me, how would I, how do I get myself to open up that it is happening for me? Right? But also I have this little anecdote, or this little, I call it a principle or a law, the law of polarity, right? And you're lighting up because I've talked to you about it all the time. But for anything to be negative, there's got to be something positive with it. That's just physics, right? Life is the same way. If there's something negative, there's got to be something positive with it. Look for the positive, because if all you do is ruminate on the negative, then you don't find the solution, and it's a painful period. It could be a day, it could be a month, it could be a year, right? But you got to be willing to look for the good. So it is what it is. You have something negative that happened, you run through this process in your mind. It is what it is. It's either going to control me or I'm going to control it. Choose to be in control. Right?
And I like when you just said that, because if we focus on the good, if we focus on what can I take good from this, what we focus on expands. So if we're focused on finding the blessing in those things that happen to us, that's what's going to grow. We're not going to see all the bad stuff that we would naturally see if we were so focused on the bad part of it.
And it may take you 5 years. I don't guarantee you'll ever see it, but it may take you 5 years to see it.
Yeah.
But I promise you, if you
I don't
look
want
for
to
it,
scare
you'll find it.
anybody away thinking, oh, the work's going to be so hard. It's going to take me 5-10 years. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that it's small little steps. You know, each one of us, even when we first started with Dr. Ed and even Dr. Ed, we had small little steps that happened throughout the time period. You know, so it's not like nothing's happening in 5 years and all of a sudden it's just like, woo, you're awake, you know? No, but it's like, there's small stages. It's I always think of what Dr. Ed tells me. All I have to do is be better than I was yesterday. All I have to do is, you know, I start fresh every day, and I can be exactly what I'm envisioning for myself every single day that I wake up, and have gratitude that I woke up and then do it. Right, Dr. Ed? It's like, you don't focus on what you didn't do last week, or you didn't do yesterday, or you didn't do a month ago. It's gone. It's done.
Well, and the one thing that I want to add to that is just giving gratitude for the things that didn't happen. Like Dr. Ed said, sometimes we think that the thing that we're praying for, the thing that we want to happen, looking in hindsight in my life, looking back, I think that was my greatest blessing. It was my greatest pain, but looking back, it's been my greatest blessing. And so I still think for me, even the bad things have worked out for me.
Absolutely. 100%. I feel the same way.
But let me finish the 3-step process. Right?
Okay.
No, please. We'd love that.
It is what it is. It's either going to control me or I'm going to control it. This is where you respond to your life and not react. Right? You focus on, how do I want this to be, but what's the good? Step 2, harvest the good. Look for it. We talked about that. Step 3 is to forgive everything else, to let it go. The things you can't control, you got to let it go. Right? And it's a growth process to get yourself to be able to let it go. It's not going to be easy, but it'll be so worth it when you can learn to live in the present moment. Focused on where you want to go. Believing that you can get there. Learning how to believe what you want to believe. And look, I know we've been talking here about a lot of different topics. There's a lot of different things that go into the growth. But the one thing that I want to say to you is, what you believe is pliable, malleable to your thinking. Right? You only believe what you believe because you kept thinking it. So what you believe is possible for you, or what you believe you're capable of, can change when you change. And you'll go through a period, and then a light will come on. You go, oh man, I can do that.
Right.
And I know you.
So
All
true.
four of us have been through it.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have got through it if you didn't commit and stay on the course,
Mhm.
right? And you have to have a big enough reason to do it. We're given this life, and we're going through the life. Why not, why not work towards living the life you want to live, the impact you want to make, the difference you want to make for other people, rather than just surviving? There's so much
Yeah.
more available to us than just surviving, and we may just be in the habit of surviving.
Absolutely.
No, we can break that pattern. We can thrive. We can create. We're created for that purpose. But it just requires a shift in how you look at your life and how you look at yourself. Look, I don't know how much more time we have, but I just want to share a couple things with you. And then Michelle, I'll turn it back to you. But I just want to give you 7 ideas to take away with you. I already gave you the law of polarity. You know, use it. If it's on your heart, figure out, well, I'm gonna figure out how to use that. And next
Yeah.
time something negative happens, I'm gonna look for the positive and I'm gonna let everything else go. But Terry stole my thunder when she said, number 1 here is everything's happening for a reason and it's happening for you. That's number 1. Number 2 is there is no such thing as failure. Right? The only way you can fail is if you quit, and you control whether you quit or not. See,
Yes. That's a
I
big
didn't
one.
I didn't
Yes.
quit on the marriage and it worked out. Okay? Whatever happens in your life, take responsibility for it. One thing and this is a blessing I got from my grandma, I naturally don't blame other people. I haven't had that habit, and that allowed me to stay in the marriage. Because some things happened that really hurt our family. And I could have blamed her. Instead, I took responsibility for it and worked on it. Right? Take responsibility for your life. That's where your power is at. Learn how to be resourceful is number 4. As a human being, we're gifted. Everything we need is here to create. And I go back, I use the analogy of the cell phone. When the cell phones were created in 2003 or 2000, or maybe it was earlier than that. Don't hold me to that. I'm not great with dates. But it was 1997 when the first cell phone came out that had these big towers on the back of the car, the huge antenna, and they were big as a
A big, huge
double brick.
block.
Yep.
All right, they were convenience. They were created by the mind of man. But the truth about that is they were created, but they could have been created 20 years ago, 40 years ago. Everything was already here. We just had to put the pieces together. So it's not about resources. The way to start your nonprofit and help those women, Terry, is already here. That you have to be resourceful.
Right.
Same is true for Kimberly with her dementia influence, right? And the people that you want to impact, Michelle, the way to do it's already here. You have to be
Yes.
resourceful. Personal resourcefulness, personal growth. You got to start to believe in yourself. So learn how to be resourceful. You want to change your life? Change your beliefs. Challenge what you believe. Right? A belief is just a thought you've kept thinking and you didn't challenge it. Some things don't need to be challenged. Kimberly's beautiful purple sweater, shirt, that's purple. I'm not trying to convince you that that's red. We believe it's purple. It's purple. We don't need to change that. But what you're capable of, challenge that. What's possible for you, challenge that. I talked about relationships. The quality of your life is the quality of the relationship you have in your life. All cumulative, friends, family, significant other. But the quality of the relationship is the quality of the communication. And sometimes that's where the growth needs to happen. You got to learn how to communicate. Right? And then the final thing is find the joy in everything. See, when you can turn work into play, when you can turn personal growth into and find the joy in it and have fun with it, right? And it's not hard. It's it's a gift. When you look at it that way, you're living you're showing up on a different frequency. You're living on a different plane of life, and you open yourself up to complete different possibility. So I wanted to leave you with that, and just I wanted to make sure I verbal out loud said that everything that I do, my core purpose is to honor my grandmother because she was such a blessing in my life.
Thank you.
I know that,
Thank
Kimberly.
you.
Right? And your purpose. See, for a lot of those years when my marriage was falling apart, I didn't have a purpose.
Mhm.
I loved my grandmother, but I didn't know how much I appreciated her until she was
Yeah.
gone.
Right.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
But find your purpose. Find what's important to you. And go forward for it, even if you don't know how, even if you don't today believe you can do it.
Yeah.
You have
Yes.
something bigger inside of you. And I'm just blessed that I get to do that with other people, but it's driven every day. I set out today to honor my grandmother, to honor the impact she had on me. And I know Kimberly and Terry, those ideas resonate with you and Michelle. I know it's your
Yeah.
mom. We talked about it
Yep.
this morning, right? I heard
Yep.
that this morning. So
Mhm.
Yes.
thank you
I,
for allowing me to be
I
here.
love this. And
Thank you,
also,
Dr.
there's
Ed.
been a special gift. Dr. Ed has a special gift for everyone. This is the YouTube channel. So if you're listening just on audio, it's actually in the notes. So even either on YouTube or Spotify, wherever you're listening from, the link is in the notes. So just go there and click on it. That's his website. So you can also get his contact information and access to that there if you want to connect with him directly. Um, I just want to say, Dr. Ed, you're just a blessing to all of us, and we're just excited to have you here today and really appreciate you coming on because you're just such a gift for us and everybody else. And I don't want to discourage folks. I'm also going to look in the show notes because I think it's important when you talked about purpose, Dr. Ed, to give them maybe a couple of things that could start them in writing about their purpose, maybe just some prompts that could help them with that. So look in the show notes for that as well. But we just appreciate you.
Yes.
Well, again, thank you for being here. And just the gift that I have, it's a download. It's a 5-minute meditation.
Yay.
Okay.
Yay.
And it's just a place, it's a starting point for people. It's my voice just guiding you through a process. And you will feel better when you get to the other end of it. Or
Yep.
you may know that, man, I got to start working on myself. Maybe that'll happen. But just from wherever you're at, just start from where you are. And you don't compare yourself to anyone else.
Nope.
Just work on you. And something good will happen from that.
Yeah.
And I just want to add that work on you because you are worth it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You are worth it.
Absolutely.
100%. Yes. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And now you know what he looks like.
Yes.
So when his name comes up in the future, you'll be able to put a face with that reference, which is good. We appreciate you. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. Again, Dr. Ed, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you
everyone.
for joining us. Bye, everyone.